would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, about your involvement in knowledge mobilisation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start by introducing myself. So my full name is Roxanne Hart, and I am now a corporate evidence and knowledge specialist, and that's at Taunton and Somerset NHS Foundation Trust. And this role, this corporate evidence and knowledge specialist role, is a brand new one, and it's brand new to me, and it's brand new to the trust, and it's something that was created while I was on maternity leave, because basically when I was previously doing the quality improvement librarian role, which I loved, but when I came back from maternity leave, I didn't want to do a full-time role anymore. So they thought about how, they thought about what was going on with our organization and how we could sort of best support that. So they came up with the idea of this role. So it's very much early days. I'm still kind of trying to scope it and establish it. I've basically been doing it since mid-August, but for a large portion of that was 2 days a week, because what I also started when I came back from maternity leave was a 2-day-a-week secondment to the NHS England COVID-19 Behavioural Change Unit. And in terms of kind of knowledge mobilisation in this role of the corporate one, it's been so far a lot of kind of proactive evidence requests. Because I'm still in that beginning stages, I'm still kind of trying to show them how to use my services. But my colleague, Jess Polly, and I are also due to conduct a peer assist with a librarian at another trust who's wanting to support her quality improvement team and is kind of interested in the approach that we did down here. So yeah, that's kind of a little intro.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So you've talked a little bit about two different roles there. And I just wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how you kind of got started with knowledge mobilisation work.
Yeah, so I would say that most of the knowledge mobilisation activities I've been involved in have been my two previous roles. So that would be my time at the Behavioural Change Unit, and also my time as the Improvement Librarian. So with regards to the Behavioural Change Unit, I got to shadow a lot of knowledge mobilisation activities. So our knowledge manager, who joined at the same time as myself, was Rachel Cook, and Rachel you may know as the creator of the Levers Toolkit. So that was really great. And also what was quite interesting was I got to see Rachel, because of the situation with COVID, I got to see Rachel kind of translating those tools for a virtual delivery. So that was quite interesting. One of the ones she did that for was a virtual fishbowl. And she also ran a series of lunchtime educational sessions where she sort of educated people on how to use the tools for themselves. And these built on a lunch and learn that we all delivered together when we joined the unit. And with the unit, the way it kind of worked in terms of the knowledge mobilisation stuff is we were very much treated as experts and expected to contribute to projects and suggest where we could insert knowledge management. It was certainly not us waiting to be given work. It was asking for our expertise, and I think that whole approach stemmed from the fact that we three, myself, Rachel and Jess, made up the knowledge management pillar of the unit. And the whole unit was basically based on 5 pillars, and knowledge management was one of them. So I think that contributed. And then in the improvement librarian role, I had some opportunities to sort of dip my toe into the world of KM. So I conducted, I would say, about 4 knowledge harvesting interviews. 2 was for sort of internally within the library team, and 2 was for colleagues in the organisation that kind of had key knowledge that they were anticipating was going to be lost, and they wanted to sort of mitigate that as much as possible. And then I had other ideas about how to support the improvement team with knowledge management activities, like introducing them all to the postcards, which they got really enthused about. I had some preliminary conversations about how to incorporate knowledge management activities into the team. So in our quality improvement team that I used to be the librarian for, they have really robust sort of project management processes. And as part of that, they have these specific gateways, which is basically when the projects have reached certain stages. So I sort of had introductory conversations about how I thought it would link in really beautifully to at that point have an after action review to sort of check in as a team, have things gone as anticipated? Has anything derailed? If it has, let's examine it, let's get it back on track. I also was kind of discussing with them different ways to do an end of project report, which wasn't really doing anything for them, to be honest, the way that it was being done. And now Jess has picked up on all that stuff, and she's going to run with that. I think one of the things that I suggested was as part of our National Kitchen Table event, which I think is a safety event, I sort of suggested to our comms lead to use randomized coffee trials, and that was a really successful activity for them. Yeah, and then the only other, well, not the only other thing, but one of the other things that I sort of did was to sort of conduct a survey to scope what kind of work that librarians were doing in the quality improvement sphere. And that was all motivated by, when I first started the role, and I, didn't know exactly what I was doing at all. So I wanted to find out what other people were doing, and whether they were doing similar things to what I was trying to do. So I was trying to kind of link us all up. So I captured about 40 to 50 names of librarians wanting to be connected, and then I went on maternity leave. Yeah.
So some great stuff there, some really varied activity that you've been involved with. Is there anything you've been involved with, Roxanne, that hasn't worked out so well, and have you learned any lessons from that?
I think I've sort of done some reflection about sort of how to make the biggest impact, because everyone's busy, including us. So, for example, after I did a lot of the knowledge harvesting sessions, they were so time intensive. So it was not only the, minimum hour-long interview, but then it was like an hour or two of transcribing the interview, and then more time taken to kind of distill that down to key lessons or recommendations. So I think one of my reflections is kind of about how to sort of achieve an economy of effort. So maybe in future I would do sessions on how to do a knowledge harvesting session rather than being the one specifically to facilitate it. And I think that's definitely kind of the perspective that, for example, Andrew Lamb in the Beneficial Changes Unit, that's what they do. And Andrew Lamb is, of course, the creator of the postcards. So I think, their whole thing is about giving people the tools to do it for themselves. And sort of that was a bit of a reflection for me about how can I make the biggest impact with the time. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is the biggest knowledge management challenge for you in your organisation, Roxanne?
Probably, but going back to the kind of knowledge retention stuff, I think that, we could do more. It could be in, an organizational policy. I just think, I don't think any of this stuff is particularly difficult, but it just, needs to be done. So I think kind of, key people with that great knowledge kind of walking out of the organization, I would say. And also, I guess, possibly like a lack of recognition of the importance of knowledge management. So basically that they don't know that they have a knowledge management problem, or that knowledge management could help their problem. So yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the main difference that knowledge management makes to your organization when it's used?
I think that you can't really underestimate the importance or the impact of making connections and facilitating valuable conversations, applying that knowledge, and then mitigating the knowledge loss. Although I said it can't be underestimated, unfortunately at the same time it is a little bit nebulous, and it's sort of hard for us to quantify, which is our challenge, I suppose, as a profession. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy most about what you do? What's been your proudest moment in relation to knowledge management?
Yeah, so at the moment, what I'm doing feels a little bit challenging, as I'm trying to establish this new role. And I think it's as well the fact that I'm trying to establish it with a group of people where, evidence-based, etc., hasn't been sort of stamped into their DNA. Like when you speak to doctors and nurses and physiotherapists and clinical staff, they've been learning about this stuff for years, and then they know of its importance, and they know what it can do for them, and they sort of inherently get what we can do. But this is sort of a different group of people, so that's been challenging. So, but I guess with that sort of, I'm going to use the word nebula, I guess with that sort of nebulousness of my role and establishing it, there's then that opportunity to shape things my way, or actually shape things more accurately describe that, shape things in reflection to what the organization needs. And that's quite exciting, really. But, at the same time, you don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's sort of quite interesting that this role has sort of found me, because, if someone asked me if I would prefer an established role or, a new role that needs shaping, I would obviously say the former, but
Yeah, swings and roundabouts in a way. Yeah, absolutely. So, finally then, what key recommendations would you give to someone just starting out in a KM role?
Yes. So I was thinking, one of them is probably to be mindful of language. And when I say that, I'm just thinking of things like, for example, to use the example again, the knowledge harvesting. So when you say that, people often think that it sounds sort of sci-fi, like you're going to sort of be digging around in their brains. So I think, and even in less dramatic examples, I think sometimes some of the language around knowledge mobilization can be a little bit off-putting, even for us as the people working in this sphere. So I'd say be sort of mindful of that. Something that worked for us was sort of to introduce a number of tools in an informal setting. So kind of like a buffet approach where people get to just dip their toes in a number of different things, and they kind of go away feeling a little bit excited about these different things. And then obviously I think we've been talking for a little while in the NHS sphere about, the importance of stories. So I would say if you have any great anecdotes or stories, that could help to resonate things with them. And then just be bold and just try it. I'm sure it can't go that badly wrong. It'll probably be amazing. So yeah.
That's great, Roxanne. Thank you for that.
No problem.